start in a standing position. So just have your stuff nearby, but we're going to start in a little standing position. We're just going to get our upper body moving just a little bit. So find a nice even stance. Take a couple of just gentle shrugs of your shoulders. I just want to find a little bit of sense of looseness or letting go in the chest, the shoulders, and the upper body. Take one more little shrug of the shoulders, and then we're going to take, let's say, left hand. Thumb is going to come to the inside of the palm, and you're going to wrap your fingers around your thumb. And then once you've got that down, you're going to take your thumb in towards the ribs and keep that bit of a rotation. So now the arm is back, and I'm going to turn both ways just so you can see. So thumb in, and then push your arm back. And then once you've got that down, think about dropping your shoulder down just a little bit away from your ears, and we're just going to draw a couple of circles with that hand in one direction. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be like a big giant effort, but we just want to draw some circles and then circle the other way. Nice. Take one more circle around, and then we're going to release the thumb, float the arm up, so palm facing upward towards the ceiling, and then like you're just take a little bend of the elbow, pull it to the 90-degree bend, and then bring it out, and then bend and bring it in and out. One more just like that, bend and bring it in and out, and then flip the palm. So now palms facing down towards the floor. And then as you pull your fingertips up towards the ceiling, drop your ear towards your shoulder just as far as it will go. And then fingers down towards the ground and drop your ear away. Again, just as far as it will go. Fingers up, drop your ear in. Fingers down and drop your ear away. One more just like that. Fingers up, ear in. Fingers down, ear away. And then take it to a neutral position. Drop that hand down, give it a little shrug of that shoulder. Nice. And then we're going to do it to the other side. So thumb into the palm, wrap your fingers around, and then rotate. So thumb comes to the inside and we push that arm back. And then drop the shoulder down. Once you've got all of that set up, draw a couple of circles in one direction. Awesome. Draw a couple of circles the other way. Nice. And then release that palm. Bring it out to the side, palm facing up, bend the elbow 90 degrees, arm comes out, bend the elbow 90 degrees, arm comes out. One more just like that, bend it in and out. And now flip the palm, palm facing down, fingers flick up as the ear drops in, fingers flick down as the ear drops away. And you're just going to move your head just as much as it goes. No need to effort against it. We just want to kind of floss out the nerves that run along this area. One more time. Awesome. And then a neutral position, float that arm down, give that shoulder a little shrug. Cool. And then shake everything out, make sure everything's feeling good. And we're just going to take a little bit of movement down into the hips. So just pick one knee up, circle it around, and pick the other knee up and circle it around. We're going to start in an extended child's pose tonight. So we just want to make sure we have a little bit of a sense of where our hips are at right now, especially that external rotation of the hips. Nice. So if it feels like it's really stiff, it feels like it's really tight, or if it feels like it's really catchy, just be mindful of that. So you might not go full tilt 100% deep into that extended child's pose. But once you feel like things are good and loosened up, we're going to come down onto the ground. So big toes together, knees to the outer edges of your mat. Sit your butt back towards your heels. Give a second to get everything into its place. And then once you feel like your butt and your knees are in a good position, then let everything come forward. Belly, chest, and forehead are going to sink down. And then we're going to find a little bit of a looseness in this position. So see if you can invite some softness in. And then right away notice. So if it feels like it's really too intense right away in the hips or the knees, lighten up just a little bit. Maybe you pick your butt up away from the heels, not so far back, and then find that softness there. So you're going to just go to the depth that feels right. And then take a few minutes just to come to your breath here. Nice, gentle inhales, nice, slow, but natural exhales. In this position here, as your body starts to quiet down, your mind might start to settle in, or you might find in that quiet stillness that your mind sort of wants to keep rushing, especially if you've had a busy day or a lot going on. If your mind wants to keep rushing to that next place, tune into your breath and just watch your inhalation and watch your exhalation, allowing a little bit of time here for your mind to come on board with your body. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to come up into a tabletop position. Lift yourself up nice and slow. Take your time. Walk your knees in so that they're fairly in line with the hips. Walk your hands in so that they're fairly in line with the shoulders. And then once you've got your tabletop, we're just going to take a few gentle cat and cows here just to bring a little fluid into the spine. So as you inhale, drop your belly, lift your chest, lift your tail. And then exhale, round your back, tuck your chin towards your chest. And you only need to move your head and your spine just as far as feels comfortable. We just want to bring a little bit of fluid movement in. Beautiful. Take one or two more cycles of breath. And then we're going to stay in this tabletop position, but move into thread the needle. So we're going to take the right hand and thread through and underneath. So right ear, right shoulder are going to come down to the ground. And then take a second to settle into that. And then you might choose to play around with your left hand. So it might choose to reach up towards the top of your mat. It might choose to reach up to the sky or reach behind you in a little half bind. So choose whatever variation you like with the left hand that feels good. But we want to find a softness here, a little settling in. And then in this position here, you might notice a little bit of constriction of the breath with that slight bit of twist in the torso. So take the time here to just notice the difference from this position to your child's pose. How free was the breath in your child's pose, and where can you find that freedom of breath here? If at any point this position doesn't feel good to your head or to your neck, you might opt to sit back on your heels and just bring the arm across the body. So you're working up a little bit more in the shoulders, less in the torso, less in the thoracic spine, but it might just feel a little bit more comfortable to the head or to the neck. So if at any point that threaded through position doesn't feel right, come on up to a seated position and just bring the arm across the body. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to come out. Unthread that arm, bring it back into a tabletop position. In that tabletop position, rather than focusing on the spine, we're just going to take it into the hips a little bit. So bop your hips a little side to side, like you're trying to drop the side of your bum towards the ground. Nice. Take one more little bop side to side, and then we're going to move right on to the other side. So we're going to thread the left hand through and underneath. Left ear, left shoulder are going to come down towards the ground just as far as you like. And you always have an option here also to put a pillow under the shoulder or the head if a more upright position feels better. Or you can always sit back on the heels and just bring the arm across the body, finding a variation that feels good. If you're all the way down to the ground, you might choose to reach your right arm up towards the top edge of your mat, up to the sky, or tuck it behind you. And then once you've got the position that feels the most beneficial to your body tonight, take the time to slow down. Slow down your breath. Allow your mind to quiet down. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to unwind, lifting yourself back up into that tabletop position. Pause there for just a moment. Maybe take a little cat and cow now to soothe into the shoulders and the spine, or any other little bit of movement that might feel good. Now, next up, we're either going to take a forward fold or a dangle fold. So you're going to choose the variation that you like best. For me, a dangle feels really nice and it's easy to get into. So I'm just going to come up to a standing position and find that folded position. If you already know your energy level isn't there tonight, think about taking it in a seated position, legs out in front of you, super generous bend in the knees, and just fold over there. So you're not going to get gravity doing that bit of work, decompressing the spine, but you're still going to get that nice forward fold. So you're going to choose the version that you think will be best for you tonight. And you always have the option to change. If you get into one and you don't like it, pick the other one. But if you like, in the standing position, nice generous bend in the knees, hinging from your waist, folding over, and then inviting a softness in. Hands can touch the ground if that feels good, or grab the elbows if that feels better. As we get into these yin postures and we put that positive stress on the connective tissue, the ligaments, the plastic tissue, the bones, we want to invite a softness into the muscle tissue so we can get to those connective places. So in this folded position, there might be some efforting in your legs. There might be some effort to keep you in an upright position, but tune into your body. Where can you soften? Can you soften the muscles in your back? Can you soften the muscles in the back of your neck, your jaw, your forehead? And if you think of this posture, especially in that standing position, as more of a decompression of the spine rather than a stretch to the hamstrings and the backs of the legs, invite more softness into your knees if that helps you get there, and make sure that you're not feeling too much sensation up into your glutes. We don't want to find that connection point that connects the hamstrings to the glutes. So we want to keep a loose softness in the backs of the legs and a soft gentleness in your breath. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, we're going to slowly come down into tabletop position or roll your way up if you feel like a standing position is going to work better for you and ease you out of that. But if it feels all right to do so, come all the way down onto your belly. Walk your legs out nice and long. We're going to take a little stretch down onto the belly. So stretch from fingers to toes. Just let your arms reach up and overhead, almost like you're taking a little Superman position here, right? Reach through the fingers, reach through the toes. Take a nice big breath. Nice. And then just slide your hands in. We're going to take 3 low cobras just to bring a little action back into the spine. So inhale, gently lift your heart just slightly away from the floor. And exhale, lower it back down. Inhale, lift up just a little bit. Exhale, lower back down. Beautiful. One more just like that. Inhale, lift up just a little bit. Exhale and lower down. Nice. And then find a little soft looseness here. We're going to come right into tree frog pose. So we're going to slide the right leg up into a bent position. Knee can be in line with the hip or a little bit lower. You're going to find the variation in your hip that works the best for you. But what we want to do is put a little shortening on that hip flexor, that nice little hip front of your hip muscle. So we want to find a shortening of the muscle and then a relaxation. And then you're just either going to stack your hands and let your forehead rest there. Or if you want that little bit of added neck stretch, you're going to turn your head to the right and let your right fingers underneath your cheek. But if that's not in your wheelhouse tonight, if a little neck stretch isn't going to work for you, you're going to leave that part off, stack your hands, and keep a nice straight spine. So you're going to choose the variation there that's going to work best for you. But then we want to invite that softness in your legs, softness in your glutes, softness in your back. So the goalpost in this position is to shorten the muscle and then ask the muscles to chill out. So just take a moment to tune in and notice that little hip crease, that little front of your hip. And then if you feel like you're still holding a little tension there, like you're not allowing it to relax, see if you can just walk the leg a little bit longer towards the end of your mat, and then can you find a little softness? If you feel like having that full extreme bend of the knee is a little too much, or you might choose to walk it up a little bit, whatever gets you to that point where you can really relax those muscles and let them soften. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly and gently lift your head up away from your hands or up away from your one hand if you had that head turn. And then we're just going to slide that right leg back. Take a second to kind of wiggle out your bum, wiggle out your back. And then if it feels good, bend both knees and take a little shift of the heels side to side, just a little windshield wiper action. Make sure it feels comfortable to your low back. Don't go any further than feels right. Take one more little rock of those heels side to side, and we're going to take that tree frog pose right to the other side. So right foot's going to lower down towards the end of your mat. Left leg is going to externally rotate and the knee is going to draw up. So you're going to rearrange that knee in a place that allows you to find a shortening of the hip flexor muscle, but then allows a softness to come in. So we want to find that relaxation again. And then if you wanted that little extra head turn, you're going to turn your head to the left. Left hand is going to come under your cheek. So it gives you that little upright position. But if it feels better to just stack your hands and let your forehead rest there, keeping your spine straight, take a second to find the variation that you like best on this side, and then invite that softness back in. We're about halfway through our hold on this side. So just tune in and notice. Have you picked up tension in your chest and your upper body? Can you soften your shoulders? Can you soften your fingers, soften your jaw? Can you feel your breath moving freely in the back of your body? Can you feel that expansion in your ribs and your shoulder blades? And then that softening as you exhale. And then just notice if you're holding tension in your bum or your hips, can you let them soften as well? Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to come up and out. So lift your head away from your hands, slide that left leg back, give your bum a little shake, give your shoulders a little wiggle, maybe bend your knees, switch those heels a little side to side, just to offer a little soothing back into the low back, a light massage into the quads. And then once you feel like you're ready, we're going to come up onto an all fours position or tabletop. And then we're going to start to find our way into our lizard lunge. So right foot forward, it's going to step to the outside of your pinky finger. So it's going to be a nice wide position. Hands on the ground to start, and you're going to walk your left leg back just as far as you can stand, and then take a second to assess. If this feels like a good position to be in, awesome. You might choose to go a little bit deeper, letting that right knee drop open. So now you're going to get an external rotation. You're falling onto the blade edge of your foot. If that feels great and you think you can go deeper, you're going to come down elbows and forearms, which might just feel a little bit more supportive. Once you get there, if you feel like that external rotation does not feel good, come back onto the flat of your foot or any other subtle variation that feels like it's better for you there. The back knee that's on the ground, if that feels like it needs a little bit more cushion, you can always take a pillow, lift that knee up, slide that pillow under the knee so it gets a little bit of softness, and it might offer just a little bit of lift to that thigh so it doesn't feel like it's getting so sunk in. So whichever version or variation that feels good, and you always have the option to dial it back if it becomes too much. So if at any point you're efforting in your breath, if there's any shooting pain, come back out, reassess, and then find a variation that feels right to you. But if you've got a place that you're at and it feels good, find a little softness here. Soften into your shoulders, soften into the back of your neck. Take the time to notice your breath. If you get all the way here and you feel like all of this is not the position for you to be in tonight, you can always opt to flip right over onto your backside and take it into a half happy baby. So that means that your right leg would be in the bent position, your left leg would be nice and long. You're taking that knee outside of the ribs, so it's that wide position of the lung or the lunge, and you're just letting the knee drop nice and heavy. So if that feels like a better version for you, just flip over onto your back and take it there. I love when the dogs come and say hi. Sorry, I got distracted. Take one more breath here. All right, so now we're gonna keep our lunge. We're not gonna go and come all the way out unless you absolutely need to. But if you're in that lower elbow down, elbows and forearms position, you're gonna walk yourself up to a taller position. And then you're gonna step one hand to the outside of that leg and you're gonna toe heel that foot across your mat. So now we're gonna drop right into our pigeon. So we're gonna keep and maintain an external rotation with the leg, but now we're getting the thigh across, or your shin going across your mat. Your heel might come super close to your groin, or it might be closer to the side of your mat. We have variations in our body, so you're just going to choose the variation that you feel is comfortable in yourself, and then maybe you'll sink down into an elbows and forearms position, or all the way down into a sleeping pigeon with your arms extended long and your forehead softening. Now, if that right hip is way up off the ground, here's a good place where you take your pillow or your yoga block and you're just going to tuck it right up under your butt. So it's just going to bring the floor up to meet you, so you're not sinking so deep into it and efforting the whole time you're in this position. Once you've got yourself in the place that feels good, find a little softness, check in with your breath. If you're here and this is not a good position for you tonight, you're going to flip over onto your back side. You're going to take a figure four and find some comfort there. Now, with that figure four on your backside, you're not going to get that left hip flexor muscle, but that's okay. You still get the outer edge of that right hip. So if that variation works better for you tonight, go there. We're halfway through our hold on this side, so just take a moment to assess. How is your breath? Are you breathing comfortably? Nice, slow and soft inhalations, slow but natural exhalations. Sometimes we hold stuff in our hips that we don't realize until we get there. So if you feel like you've just moved some tension from the hips to other places in your body, can you invite some softness? Think about maybe start by just softening around your knees. And then see if you can invite softness into the backs of your legs. And then see if you can invite some softness into your feet. And then can you soften your low back? Can you soften your shoulders? Soften your jaw and soften the space between your eyes. Take one more breath here. And then we'll come out nice and slow. So if you're on your back side, you might choose to flip over, maybe take a little down dog just to stretch through the backs of your legs. And if you're in that upright position, curl your back toes under, pick your back knee up, slide that front leg back and take a couple of pedals of the leg. So in that down dog position, just bending one knee and pressing through the opposite heel. Nice. And then nice and slow, just lower yourself back down to your tabletop position. And then we're going to take our lizard lunge to the other side. So left foot's going to step forward to that wide position to the outside of your pinky finger. And then you're going to start to walk your right leg back to an appropriate depth for your body. Once you've got your legs in the position that you like, you're going to think about either dropping that left knee out, coming onto the blade edge of your foot. And then if you want to give a little bit softness here, you might choose to come down elbows and forearms if that's a depth that works for you. You also have the option of taking that pillow, tucking it under that back knee so you get that little bit of cushion, brings the floor up to meet the top of the thigh. And then if all of that is not working for you, flip over onto your backside, take it into your half happy baby and soften there. And then once you find a little stillness here, tune in and notice. One side might have felt totally different than the other. One side might have been easy, whereas the other one might have been hard, or vice versa. So notice what's going on here. No right or wrong, just notice. And then notice, where can you invite softness in? Take one more breath here. And then slowly start to bring yourself up. So we're going to keep that lunging position if we can, but come onto the flat of your foot, lift yourself up just a little bit, and then toe heel that foot across your mat. So we're going to have that external rotation of the knee, and then we're going to sink that right hip down. So you're going to take the time to settle in, walk that right leg back. And then again, if you need to tuck the pillow, or even if you like, even if it just feels good to be there. If your left hip is a little bit off the ground, you can tuck a pillow or your yoga block under that left hip, and that just brings the floor up to meet you, and it offers a little balance to the hips. Find the position that works for you. If this pigeon pose on this side doesn't work, but it did on the other, you still have the option to flip over and take your figure four. So take a moment here to assess. One side might have felt really easy, whereas this side might feel a little bit more challenging, or vice versa. So take the time here to just notice. It's kind of neat just to notice those little subtle imbalances within our own body. And then once you feel like you've noticed, take a moment to just take a nice big breath, and then a soft exhale, letting go. Nice. And then see, where else can you find softness? Can you soften through your hips? Can you soften the backs of your legs? Can you soften your feet? Can you allow your shoulders to soften away from your ears? Can you soften the back of your neck and let your head hang heavy? Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly start to find your way out. If you're in that down position, flip yourself over. And if you were just down in that reclined position, lift yourself up and then curl your back toes under, pick your back knee up, gently slide that front leg back into your downward facing dog and take a few petals of the legs here. Nice. Take one more bend of each leg, and then we're going to just walk our feet forward a little bit so we can sit our butt down onto the ground, and we're going to come right into our butterfly position. So soles of the feet together, knees out to the left and to the right. If this feels like a very efforted position and your knees are way up, just take your pillows and tuck them right up under the hips so they feel supported, so you don't have to effort into that position. And you always have the option to walk your feet a little further away from your center so that you make a wider diamond shape. So take the shape of a diamond that feels the best to you, that you can invite some softness in, and then just allow yourself to fold forward gently. Once you found your way into your position that feels right, you're going to invite some softness in. And this is just hopefully going to bring a little bit balance back in. So we've worked both sides of the hips apart, and now we're going to work both sides together. So find that little forward fold, let your hips tilt forward with you, soften into that shape, soften the back of your body, let it be a little bit round, a little softness in the back of your neck. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, we're just going to come into a seated position to help those legs come together. So grab the outer edges of your knees, pull those knees together, and then with hands behind you, just take a couple little gentle windshield wipers with the knees, soothing out those hips and softening up your inner thighs. Great. And then from here, we're going to start to find our way down onto our backs. So if you like, just move any of your stuff that you have out of the way so that you can come comfortably down. And then give a second as you come down to just take pause. Notice how your hips feel. Notice your inner thighs, your outer thighs, and your knees. And just give a sense if there's anything that needs a little bit of gentle movement to soothe any spaces, take a moment to do that. And then we're going to set up for our next position when you feel good and ready. So take one more moment just to assess, take a breath, notice how you're feeling. We're going to lift the left leg up towards the sky. We're not going to do much with the left leg. We're just kind of lifting it up to get it out of the way. But now we're going to pick the right leg up and swing the foot inside. So again, the knee is going to be externally rotated, but now you're going to take your left hand and see if you can catch hold of your right foot. Once you've caught hold of the top of your right foot, you're going to let that right knee drop down towards the ground. And then once you've got that there, left foot's just going to step down, and you're going to take a second to settle into this shape. So you might hug your heel a little closer to your bum, or you might decide to let it go a little softer away from your bum. And then once you've got a position that's right, you can also opt to just let go of your handhold of your foot. The way my leg is positioned, my left knee is bent and my left foot is just resting on the floor, so my right foot can just rest comfortably against. Here you're hopefully finding a little bit of sensation through the front of the right thigh, coming a little towards the outside of the right thigh. So tune in and notice, how is everything feeling? If it's too intense on the knee, you have an option to lift the knee up slightly, tuck your pillow underneath your thigh so you're not going to any depth that doesn't feel right or comfortable to you. And then if you feel like you don't have quite enough sensation, hold on to that foot and hug it a little tighter toward your bum. Once you've got your leg arranged in a way that feels reasonable and comfortable to you, invite a little softness in. Think about inviting some softness into the front of your belly, into the front of your right hip. Even allow your right arm to soften and relax just a little bit. So no need to effort in your arm, no need to effort in your shoulder. Take the time to check in and notice. So if you're feeling sensation in your right knee and the top of your knee, you might opt to let go of that handhold so you're not feeling so much sensation right at the top of your knee. If you're feeling any shooting, electric, or zinging pain anywhere, knees, hips, etc., come out of the pose, reassess, and see if you can find a different way to get there that feels less electric. But if all is feeling good, just keep and maintain that softness. Softness in your shoulders, softness in your arms, softness in your breath. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, we'll start by picking the left leg up. Maybe you just pull that left knee in towards your chest and then slowly unwind that right leg and maybe pull it up into your chest as well. So maybe with both knees into the chest, take a little gentle rock side to side, any little bit of movement there that might feel good. Or if it feels really good to do so, you might choose to extend that right leg long and just wiggle your foot around a little bit. And then once you feel like you've got that kind of dull ache worked out, we're going to just float that right leg up towards the ceiling. We're going to pick the left leg up into that more tabletop shape, swing that foot to the inside, grab hold of your left foot with your right hand, drop your left knee down towards the earth. Take a second to find your way there. And then once you found it, right foot's going to step down into a comfortable position. And then take a moment here just to tune in and assess. Does it feel good to let go of the foot? Especially with that right knee bent, you can let that just the foot clip right on that ankle and hands free, you're there. If it feels better to hold on to that foot and hug it in a little tighter, so you get more sensation. You're going to choose the option that feels best to you. No zinging or electric pain in the knee. We want to make sure the knee feels pretty good and happy about this position. And then once you feel like you're there and finding a little bit of comfort, invite some softness in. Soften your left arm, your left hand, your left shoulder. Soften your belly. Soften your left thigh as much as you can. Soften your right foot. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to unwind. Start by just picking that right knee up, then let the left knee lift as well. Pull both knees into your chest. Maybe give yourself a light little squeeze, maybe a little rock side to side. And then we're just going to finish by taking our legs into legs up the wall, just to kind of find a little length again through the backs of the legs. So float your feet upward towards the ceiling, but allow any amount of bend in the legs that feels right to you. So we all have different flexibility in the hamstrings. So just make sure that you're not yanking against them. Softness in the knees, softness in the thighs, tailbone is heavy. And if you can, invite a little softness into your belly. And then once you found your way there, we're just going to let a little time for gravity to do a little work for you. So invite that softness into your feet, just a sense of letting go. And then just take a moment here to tune back into your breath. Nice, big, generous inhale. A nice, slow exhale. Awesome. And then we're going to keep the left leg nice and still, and we're just going to give the right leg a little shake. Like you're shaking water off your hands. So we're just going to give that foot a little shake, let the whole leg vibrate a little bit. Left leg is going to stay fairly still. And take one more good shake of that right leg, and then let the right leg come to stillness and start to shake the left leg. Nice. Take one more little shake of that left leg, and then slowly and mindfully float your feet back down to the ground. Walk your feet to the outer edges of your mat. Gentle windshield wipers here. So no need to go to that full depth. We have worked those hips pretty hard. So just invite some softness in, and then just tune in and notice, how do your hips feel? How does your back feel? Is there any place that you need to go to find a little bit of softness so that you can find your way to your best Shavasana? If there's any little pose or posture or movement or stretch that you know is going to take you there, take a second to do it. But if everything is feeling good and you're ready for your Shavasana, start to find your way into a comfortable position that works for you. You might choose to come into constructive rest, shortening those hip flexor muscles again, inviting some softness back in, super supportive to the low back. You might choose to walk your legs long to the end of your mat and take that more traditional shape. And if you've got 2 pillows, you might opt to tuck them under your knees, under your head, or under your back, anywhere that might feel good. And sometimes it's just nice to place a pillow over your belly and get that little tucked in sensation. So if any of that would work for you, give yourself a moment to do it, and then allow your body a little time to settle into it. Start to bring your awareness back into your body. Gently wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Take a moment just to notice the gentle rhythm of your breath. And then if your legs are in that bent position, if you decided to go with constructive rest, take a second here to just walk your feet down to the end of your mat. So nice long legs and arms out at your side. And then we're going to just lift the right leg. So think about just lifting your right leg about an inch or two away from the floor, just to kind of get a sense, a feeling of the weight of your right leg. And notice maybe even the muscles that get engaged as you lift that leg up. And then when you feel like you've got a sense of how heavy that leg is, release it down, maybe give it a little soft shake. And then we'll take it to the other side. So pick up your left leg and just pick it up an inch or so off the ground and just kind of get a sense of the weight of that leg. Feel those muscles in your belly working to lift that leg up. And then when you feel good and ready, release it down and then just give that leg a little shake. Nice. And then we're just going to pick up the right arm. So with your arms in a soft position out at your sides, just pick your right arm up, maybe an inch or so off the ground. Notice the weight of your right arm. And then when you feel ready, release that arm down. Maybe give your hand a little wiggle or your shoulder a little wiggle. And then when you feel good and ready, we're going to take it over to the left. You're just going to pick your left arm up off the ground an inch or two and just notice and feel the sense of the weight of your arm. Nice. And then when you're ready, release that arm down, wiggle your fingers, maybe shake your arm out just a little bit. Awesome. And then last but not least, we're going to keep our head turned up towards the ceiling. And we're just going to pick our head slightly up away from the floor. So you're just going to notice the weight of your head. So it might be less than an inch. You don't want to yank against your neck or anything like that, but we just want to feel the muscles through the front of the neck, through the front of the chest that help lift that head up away from the floor, get a sense of the weight of your head. And then when you feel good and ready, relax your head down and then maybe just take a gentle turn of your head side to side, only moving in a range of motion that feels appropriate. Nice. And then in your own time, in your own way, Slowly start to find your way up to a comfortable seated position. If you like that big good morning stretch, take it before you find your way up, but then come up in any way that feels good. You might choose to rock and roll up. You might choose to roll to one side. Take your time. There's no rush. Except for Ozzy's tail's a wagging. He's like, all right, yoga's. So find your way up to a comfortable seated position, get nice and comfy, just kind of sink into your sits bones, and then bring one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart. Close your eyes down or just soften your gaze and take a moment to tune back into your breath. Take a nice, gentle inhale. Nice, slow exhale. Breathing in love and gratitude for yourself, for your mind, for your body, and for all of your hard work. Take another big inhale. And as you exhale, think about letting your shoulders soften and think about letting go of anything you're holding on to that won't serve you through the rest of your night. When you're ready, gently lift up through the top of your head, gently open your eyes. I bow to you. Happy Monday.